Hi everyone, my name is Shambhav. I'm here with my friends Rupak, Ruzal, Abdur, and Regina. We are here to give a presentation on banking sector of Australia. As for the introduction, the main purpose of assignment is to analyze the banking sector which operates in the Australian market and the overall impact which the business has and overall economy as whole. The discussion would also be including analyzing and utilizing the demand and supply model to get a clear picture of the Australian market. In addition to this, the government intervention would also be discussed in details. The banking sector can be regarded as one of the most important sectors in any economy and has a vital role to play in the overall growth and development of the economy as a whole. In the economy of Australia, the banking sector is dominated by four major banks, which largely handle majority of the financial transactions in the economy. Talking about the background of the industry, Commonwealth Bank of Australia, Westpac Banking Corporation, Australian and New Zealand Banking Group, and National Australian Bank are the four major banks which controls all the operation of a business and contributes to the financial requirements of the country. The banking system in Australia has developed significantly, setting up numerous small banks, therefore strengthening the financial sector of the country. It is also to be noted that the banks also take additional responsibility for managing the foreign exchange for the people who are visiting the country. That's all for my part. I would like to call upon my friend Regina to continue with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Samba. To continue our presentation, I would like to discuss with market structure. The market structure of the banking sector has been enormous and the same is still growing, which makes the sector vital in terms of contribution, which the sector makes the GDP of the country. The banking sector also experienced from abuse and scandal which has affected in the industry severely. It is therefore for such reason that regulation has been brought into the industry so that proper control accountability can be maintained in the industry. Mm, the chart in the slide shows that the banking sector has been generating consistent revenue in terms of interest and other source of income. This shows that the different banking business has been generating consistent revenue from the operating process. It is also to be noted that in case the banking sector wants to continue making such revenue in the future period, but for the same, the authorities need to maintain an efficiency level in the operation of the business. Thank you. I would like to call Rufak.
Thank you, Regina, for passing me the presentation. In furthering the presentation, I'm going to discuss about issues associated with the industry. The banking sector also experienced from abuse and scandals which has affected the industry severely. It is therefore for such reasons that regulations have been brought into the industry so that the proper control and accountability can be maintained in the industry. That was one part of the dimension. Let's see another issues. Another issue which have been highlighted is the conflict of interest in the top executives of the bank, which provides an opportunity to such officials to engage in the misconduct. This has been an issue which is affected by the banking sector and the same needs to be reduced so that the banking sector can function in an effective manner. It is therefore for these reasons that the Royal Commission has brought about changes in certain regulatory policies and also asked the banks, including the big four banks, that they would be requiring submit a report to the Royal Commission. This is done so that the Royal Commission can look into the workings of the banks and ensure that there has been no misconduct in the operations of the business. The banking officials can also expect strict regulations brought in so that such misconduct does not take place in future. There are various other examples which can be provided regarding the misconduct in the banking sector in Australia, the prominent ones being that of the Commonwealth Bank of Australia, which had a culture of sales-driven strategy in the financial planning sections of the bank, and the objective of this section was to make profit at all cost. So for the further presentation, I would like to call upon Abdur.
Thank you, Rupak, for passing me the presentation. Hi, everyone. I am talking about impact of banking sector. The banking sector has suffered from allegations of misconduct, and same are most related of sales of product. which are unsuitable, non-adherence to responsible leading standards, improper financial advice provided to the clients, attempted manipulations of financial benchmarks. It is to be noted that focus of such misconducts are the big four banks, which operate in Australia, and this is because they hold around 80% of the transactions in the country. One of the major impacts which has affected the operations of the banking sector is the lack of interest of the banking sector to manage information regarding the customer as per the requirements of known year customer regulations. Last point but not the least, all these practices have hampered the growth of the banking sector, and people are moving towards investment in shares and bonds due to the lack of ethical conduct of the banking sector. So, end of my topic, I would like to call my friend Rujel for further presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abdur, for your wonderful presentation. And now I would like to continue our part on government policy about the banking sector. The regulators of the banking sector were instructed to bring about strict regulations in the banking system so that such a misconduct does not occur in future. The Royal Commission also was formed so that the review of the workings of the four major banks can be done, and any unethical practices of such banks can be brought to light. The strict regulations were brought about by the banking regulators so that ethical practices can be initiated in the banking sector so that the banking system can regain the confidence of the public. So concluding our presentation, I would like to focus on the banking industries that has attained significant growth over the last decade, but the same has been affected by misconduct of the banking industry. The banking industry also has been affected due to the practices of the top four banks, and it is necessary for the government to bring about strict regulations in the operations of the banks. The analysis also reveals how the issues which are faced by the banking sectors impact the Australian economy and the demand and supply shocks which is faced by the economy in the terms of foreign exchange flow in the country. Further, the discussion also shows the governmental policies and introduction of the reviews of the Royal Commission, which was brought about to bring in some accountability in the operational process of the bank. And that's all about for our presentation. Thank you very much.